go.
It feels like Miami.
Miami, 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 Miami.
It feels like Miami.
Welcome to the Heat Beat Podcast. I'm your host, Giancarlo Navas, and with me today, to my left, is producer and co-founder Brian Goins.
What's up, everybody?
On the bottom right corner is our very own statistician and professional Photoshopper, Christian Hernandez.
I thought we weren't doing a live stream.
We're not doing a live stream, but this is for the YouTube audience, Christian.
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
This is for the YouTube audience.
My bad. I'm focused.
Listen,
I'm here.
We care about everybody on our platforms. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on twitch.tv/MIA Heatbeat. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on iTunes. You can find us on so many platforms. Thank you very much to the Blue Wire Podcast Network for doing that. And also to the bottom left is professional Photoshopper and anime lover BrassJazz.
What's up, everybody?
Whole gang's here. We are here on all our platforms. Remember, everybody, tomorrow night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time on twitch.tv/MIA Heatbeat. We, Miami Heatbeat, will be doing a live draft show all the way up to pick 20 and beyond. So check us out. We're going to be there as we are every year. It's a tradition like no other. Miami Heatbeat doing a draft show live to hear our reactions to anything that happens, whether the Heat trade down, they keep the pick, they make a big splash, whoever knows. And, there's always crazy stuff that happens on draft night. So make sure to follow us, twitch.tv/MIA Heatbeat. We're going to be live there. And if you miss it, don't worry. We will post the VODs on Twitch and on our YouTube page, Miami Heatbeat. So check us out on YouTube. All the podcasts also go all the way over there. So, gentlemen, it's been kind of a weird 2 days of free agency already. I mean, it's been absolutely bonkers so far.
Free agency, trade moratorium.
You know what I mean? Like it's been absolutely unreal, the amount of things that have happened so far. And I think a lot of it actually kind of affects the Heat. If we look at what's going on with the Bucks and their move for Jrue Holiday and getting Bogdanovic, and also them not getting Chris Paul, I think is also like a big thing to talk about. So the main thing that people took away from last night when the Bucks acquired Jrue and Bogdanovic was, despite the bounty that they gave up, people felt that was in a way a commitment from Giannis that they would not trade everything if they knew that Giannis was leaving, right? Like you don't mortgage your future in that way. What was it? It was 3 first-round picks for Jrue Holiday and 2 pick swaps, and then the sign and trade for Bogdanovic, where they gave Dante DiVincenzo and George Hill, right? So they're pretty much emptying out their bench and any reliable kind of playmaking and guard play that they have. So like it's going to be, those 3 guys, Brook Lopez, and then some minimums. Wes Matthews opted out. Robin Lopez opted out. So Christian, I think Heat fans were kind of panicked yesterday because they felt that their chance to get their whale kind of slipped away.
Oh, I mean, definitely not. I mean, just because Giannis is the biggest whale, it doesn't mean that he's the only one that can help the Heat achieve what they're trying to achieve. So, first of all, I'm still not convinced. So apparently he has a month. He has about a month, I think, to sign his Supermax extension. So we'll find out soon enough.
Season.
There's no
21st.
point in trying to speculate too much because we're gonna find out very soon, whether he's actually committed now.
When that all went down, I definitely was in the camp of oh shit, Giannis must, he must know something. He must have given him a little nod, yeah, I'm gonna stick around. But really, when you step back and you look at how that just obliterates their depth, it really could very easily be seen as kind of a desperation play, to be see, look, we're making changes. Yeah, we didn't do great last year, but we're here. Look at us improving the team. But meanwhile, there's no one there. There's no one left on the bench. So, yeah, could go either way at this point. But I think Giannis is, as Christian said, he is the biggest whale, but But mark my words, he's not the. This is not like the only way to a fucking championship. There are so many other paths, and Giannis is not that. He's maybe the shiny fucking, he's the guy you want, I guess. But like, there's other fits for the team that are probably even better than him.
So there was at two. What you got, Brian?
Like the guy right behind me.
Gallinari, that's my boy. For those of you who are listening through the podcast medium, can't see Gallinari behind Brian. Late last night, Brass, I saw a lot of Heat fans kind of very doom and gloom, right? They were very upset. They're just like, all right, 2021's over. Let's waste our cap space. Let's do this. Let's do that. Like it was.
Are Heat
it
fans
was
just
insane.
bumbling drunks? Because that's what the beginning of that was.
That's what Heat fans were like. And I'm just like, well, what are we doing? Like, what's going on here? Like, what's I don't really compute. I was like, the Heat are in a great position. They made the finals. They just kicked that team's ass. I'm like, the Bucks are gonna walk into next season's favorites, as they should be. You add, I know a lot of people are really kind of saying that it's a Jrue Holiday and Eric Bledsoe's a lateral move. It's absolutely not. Jrue Holiday is an excellent defender. He has a lot more length than Eric Bledsoe, and you kind of imagine that he's not going to turn into a pumpkin come postseason.
Can we assume that they're going to be favorites?
Yeah, they're going to be favorites. I mean,
what if
they're gonna be.
the Nets actually get Harden?
That changes things, but as of right now, and I think even if the Nets get Harden, I think the smart money would be on Milwaukee. I think the money would be on Milwaukee. I think that defensively they're going to be good. I mean, remember, their Achilles heel a lot of times was, Eric Bledsoe couldn't shoot, right? And Eric Bledsoe just was not an impact star in the playoffs, right? Like maybe, he was just never what he was in the regular season, which really kind of neutered their offense, because now you have this guy who can't shoot and who's not doing much, and he defends like hell, but Jrue Holiday is a guy that can at least, in theory, shoot, right? He's not the best spot-up shooter in the world. George Hill has a lot better numbers than he does spot-up shooting, and they lost him. But, at the end of the day, in crunch time, the Heat last season, they were picking on George Hill right on switches. Jimmy Butler was hunting that matchup every time down the floor, and as good as he was, they were able to pick on him late in games. And you saw it with the Celtics to Kemba Walker, too, which is why, people reported that, the Celtics were kind of open to trading Kemba Walker to get Jrue Holiday so that they can't get picked on late in games. So, While I've seen some people say it's a lateral move for the Bucks, I don't really think that. I think that they're gonna walk in favorites, and adding a guy like Bogdanovic, who's a shot maker late in game, he's their probably the second or third best shot creator, depending on how you feel about Middleton. Sorry, Nikias. He's really good. That guy can shoot the ball like hell. He can shoot off the move. He can do a lot of stuff. Not the best defender, but adequate. So they're gonna walk in favorites, Chris. I just don't think. I just don't see them as unbeatable like some people are feeling, because they're just lacking in depth.
It's tricky doing these trade talks because in 5 minutes after we stop recording this, there could be a massive trade which just nullifies a lot of the shit we're saying.
He could get Harden. Who knows?
Could.
Don't get discouraged. Live in the moment.
Could happen. But
Looking like John Wall for Westbrook is happening.
Wait, what?
Did you not see that report?
No.
Apparently,
Really?
John Wall and Westbrook have been. Let me pull it up. I think it's from Shams. Yeah, Shams reported an hour ago saying the Rockets and Wizards have discussed a deal centered on Russell Westbrook for John Wall. No traction
seems
yet.
like-
Rockets are seeking more assets.
Yeah, that seems. Well, I mean, if that's the case, that would indicate that they're ready to. Well, I guess that would indicate that they're not ready to move off Beal. They're going to try to pair him with a guy who's probably better than John Wall at this point, given what John Wall's injury was.
or they just want jerseys.
There's no way that'll last into this trade deadline, man.
But what I was saying before is like, we don't know if, it's clear Harden's getting traded to someone because Rockets are just like, fuck this. But
does he have to get traded now? I feel like he'll get traded eventually, but does he have to get traded now before the season starts?
How long is his contract again? Like the Rockets can take their sweet
two more
time
years,
waiting for a great
and an
offer.
option.
But
2 more years with a player option.
But also, what would that look like? I don't know. I haven't looked at the Nets and like what would need to be traded. I mean, are we looking at a similar thing like Milwaukee? Are they going to be basically emptying out their benches to clear space to be able to on? So
It'd be Dinwiddie, LeVert, Jared Allen, and then any pick that they can plus pick swaps. I think the max you can trade is 3 picks, and then is it 3 or 4 picks, Brian? I don't know. I read. I think he spent
For them, it's gonna be like 3 picks.
I think the
James
max that you could trade is 3 or 4 picks and then 2 pick swaps. So like that's the market. I mean, like, somebody had this tweet yesterday. The Sam Presti and the Rockets really inflated the value on trades this offseason. And considering Robert Covington went for damn 2 first-round picks. You know what I mean? And then obviously the Jrue Holiday and David Griffin, got a bounty, and then Sam Presti, collecting all those picks for Chris Paul. There's a certain inflation market. And by the way, like, I think that's affects the Heat in a lot of ways because he don't have a lot of draft equity going forward, right? They don't have a lot of picks that they can trade, which is going to hurt them to get in these big talks, because if that's really what it's going to take to get in the door for like a Bradley Beal or a James Harden, I thought Zach Lowe's thing was interesting today. He said can't really see Miami getting in the door with just Tyler Hero. Like that's not a blue chip piece enough. Which, to be honest with you, I think the Heat can probably in theory create a better offer than the Nets. I think the Heat probably can have better players. I mean, Spencer Dinwiddie, you're gonna have to pay him. And it depends how you feel about Karis LeVert and Jared Allen, but I mean,
Also,
I think
like, fuck you. Riley can always get in the door. Continue, Jim.
always. Oh, it's just, fuck you to Zach Lowe. I mean, I get what he's saying. They don't have the draft equity.
All it really takes is for Miami to somehow get like a 2021 pick somehow from like just trading. They could trade none to like a bottom contender, and they can get a 2021 pick, and they basically open up like 3 or 4 picks that they could use until 2027 if they really wanted to.
The Thunder own their pick, correct?
Yeah, and then the Thunder also own their 2023 pick, which they can reduce the restrictions on it. I think it's their top 15 protected right now.
Is the
Which
2023
prevents
pick from the Dragic trade?
It's from salary dumping Mo Harkless.
Mo Harkless, yeah. So when the Heat made room for
it was
Jimmy
traded to
Butler,
the Clippers, and then when the Clippers traded for Paul George, that's how Thunder got
they
it.
sent they sent the pick. So Oklahoma City is, which by the way, I think it's going to be interesting that Dragic is very likely going to be on the team during the duration of all those draft picks that they sent for him, which is kind of like a low-key kind of thing that I don't think anybody thought would happen. I mean, Dragic, when was Dragic traded? In 2015, 2016? And he lasted that whole time. So I think that's pretty interesting.
I think that's fair to say that was one of Riley's best moves.
I think it looked kind of bleak because they didn't have any, because it was the 2021 pick and then it was the 2019 pick, correct? Those are the 2 picks that were moved. 2019 pick would have been nice, but I mean, the years that they were in the lottery, they had their pick. Let's remember that. The years that they made the playoffs.
I remember so vividly when the Goran trade went down. Everyone on Heat Twitter was just talking about how we gave them absolute garbage.
We did.
Just threw. It's amazing, and we did. But at the same time, no one, absolutely no one, was really talking about the picks that we gave up in that. But like as time went on, it's like everyone's all crying about the picks that we gave them. Like,
no, and remember the Bosch blood clots happened right after.
Yeah.
So it was just, we couldn't even enjoy the possibility of what that 5 could have done together because we never even got it.
Absolutely, it was terrible. But like in that moment when you're riding high and you're looking and you make you swing and you make an all fucking trade, and then those picks, it hurts. We did clear out a lot of our draft capital, but
I think that he built a contender without draft capital, which I think is one of the most amazing. I mean, I guess that's not totally true because
you think about their
they
best
use their
assets
picks.
are like their best assets are like another lottery players and literally 2 undrafted players because Duncan Robinson's probably really up there if they ever want to trade.
Well, it's also part of the reason they got to the finals is they're really great at drafting.
Yeah.
Like
Their
scouting is
their under scouting is unbelievable, but also they're like the guys that they can get at 13 and 14 are unbelievable. They're really, really great players. So
like, you kind of look at what the Bucks are doing, right? So the Bucks have this starting 5, and like I think you're more confident in that the Heat can fill out the rest of that roster because the Heat are so good at finding these guys on the margins. They're good at using the D League. They're good at drafting. They're good at the undrafted guys. When Milwaukee doesn't have as much of a track record as Miami. And also, like, let's not forget, no state tax, right? And it's a nice city. So if you're going to take a discount, if you're a player right now, and if you're looking to take a discount to play with the Lakers or to play with the Bucks, I think that you might lean the Lakers because it's a lot nicer over there in LA than it is in Milwaukee. You know what I mean? Especially during COVID times where you're gonna, It's gonna be cold, and you're not gonna travel a lot. That's the other angle to this is that some people have said next season it's gonna be a lot less travel. So you're gonna stay home a lot. You're gonna be in division a lot. You're probably gonna play like a lot of it's gonna be a lot of home stands. You're gonna be somewhere for a long time. So that stuff's gonna matter. Going into next season.
I was as a side note, this is interesting. So this season we're playing it at just a few different arenas. Is that what we're doing, or we're just? Or did they,
They're traveling. It's just 25,
they're traveling.
I think it's 25 to 30% less travel.
They're just trying to reduce the travel. So if the Heat go to LA, right, they're just gonna play the Clippers and the Lakers at the same time, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, there'll be like kind of like baseball has like a series.
Okay, so
if
they
go
playing
play
one
the
game
Celtics.
and then coming back in like a month, they play both games in that same.
So they totally scrapped that plan where it's like 5 or 6 different arenas, and they just kind of.
Oh yeah, no, they're not doing bubbles. No, it looks like and then some teams are gonna have fans in the stadiums, which is kind of wild. I know the Lakers are not one of them. That's the one team that I read that they're not gonna have fans in the stadium.
Us in Florida though, very big possibility.
You never know. Kiara said, what's that door fee? I think it's gonna be limited capacity even then. Chris, you're a season ticket holder. Have they told you anything?
Nope, not yet.
Not yet. So, did you renew?
Yep.
So okay, so you'll report live. You'll let us know.
Wait, what
Oh, I'm
happens
very
if you
interested to
can't
see
go
what they're
to a
gonna do.
game? What happens? They give your money back, or
I mean,
they just
for
hold
the
it as a
games
deposit
that
for the following year.
Well, that's what they did for the games that I couldn't go to last season. They gave me a credit that I applied to it was like 1.5 of my 8 payments. So yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. The other big move that happened yesterday, I guess not the big move that happened, but the big move that was kind of hinted at was James Harden going to the Nets, right? And if we look at for the Heat, obviously this is not ideal, right? You don't want that guy going in your conference, right? The year you make the finals, the year after you conquer the Bucks, you're looking good. The Raptors may lose Van Vliet. That's one less team you got to worry about. The Nets are coming back with Kevin Durant. You have some injury questions. Obviously, the Bucks got better. And then now this Nets thing is happening, right? Which is, Christian, it's kind of, it's a little nerve-wracking if you're a Heat fan. You know what I mean?
I mean, definitely. Harden, Kyrie, and Kevin Durant. I mean, did you see that video that went viral on Twitter of what the Nets offense is going to look like? And it was just like a 20-second clip of somebody playing 2K with all 3 of them just each dribbling between their own legs for like 8 seconds each before someone takes a jumper. Like, that probably will be what their offense is, but it's still going to be really damn good and really hard to stop.
In late game, it's going to be impossible. And especially if Harden
obviously
commits.
I feel like the Bucks were like the kind of tough assignment that really, and Spo loves challenges like that. So I feel like the Heat would be prepared, but it's going to be tough. I don't know how you pick your poison there.
I think
that's going to be it.
That's one of those teams that's being put together, and we really have no idea how that's going to work out.
Yeah.
I mean, talent wise, they're really, really good. I mean, they're really fucking good. All 3 of those guys are really good. But they're kind of head cases. I mean, if it comes to Durant and Kyrie together, man, I never really saw that working that great. I mean, this is going to be one of the cold takes, I'm sure, the freezing cold takes, but but then you add Harden there.
It has the recipe to be a disaster, which is what's going to make it so fun to watch. I'm going to want to watch that team.
I think if they come out strong and they win a shitload of games and they're going to be at top of the conference for a while, then you get worried because then they can probably ride that high. But if they start 9-8 or something, you know what I mean, where they're just kind of like we should be better than this.
No, because they should be an elite team. Absolutely. They should be winning at least 60-65% of their games. So if they're not meeting that mark, the criticism's going to be worthy.
There are a lot of similarities to this and when they made the Boston trade. They have a new one of these
players are much better, Brass. They're much better. This is not Joe Johnson and washed up KG.
I know. But I'm saying there are some similarities though, and there's a great all-time great player who is now the head coach. We don't really know how
that's what the similarities are.
Well,
But
no,
like, I
no,
mean, this
no,
kind of has like odd parallels to what happened in Golden State.
but also that like that the Nets team, they have some good players in that team, but in order to get Harden, you are going to sort of empty the clip of that bench. And you just like Milwaukee, we're sort of like haha and at Milwaukee a little bit here, talking about how great their starting five is, but then after that it sort of falls off a cliff. I mean, you're talking this very similar situation in Brooklyn.
The difference
Durant's
is
coming off an Achilles injury, and
Correct.
Kyrie hasn't even played a full season in like 3 years.
Correct.
that's where I'll give you. See, Brian, that's where I'll say that could go bad. But I mean, Brass, I mean, they're 2 top 5 players. You know what I mean? KD and Harden are arguably 2 top 5 players and maybe 2 top 3 offensive players in the league. You know what I mean?
What I would do, I would try to trade Kyrie.
But they're not going to trade Kevin Durant's friend before they even get to play a single second of basketball together.
They already got him on contract.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't think that's a big problem for them because, like, if you really have a team that has Kyrie, Harden, and KD, like, you're gonna have a bunch of veterans that are gonna want to go there to win a title, and they'll take the minimum. So
Like
you
Wes
fill out
Matthews,
the right,
for example.
yeah, exactly. And like, Sean Marks, their GM, has shown to be very good at his job over the last few years as he's really rebuilt that franchise. And I mean, he's going to be in a great situation where he's going to have people coming to him, and it's not so much the other way around. So they're probably the team that I think can have the highest peak out of any team that the Heat will face in the Eastern Conference.
Oh, like for sure. It's not even a question.
Yeah, I'm not anticipating they're going to be bad. I'm just saying it could very easily turn bad.
It could. No, there's
stuff.
the recipe is there for.
I think the disease of more stuff happens, kind of after you win, right? So like, in the beginning, especially these guys have chips on their shoulder, right? Like Harden and KD, especially, like people don't think his Golden State championships count. And Kyrie has chips. So like I think it's easy early on to make it work, but it's just later. That's when stuff kind of blows up. I do think that Heat fans do overblow things. I do think that they're a really good team. That has a lot of tools, right? We've gone over this. They have the full mid-level exception. They have the biannual exception. They have a $7.5 million trade exception. They have 2 chunky expiring contracts. They have a first-round pick in this draft, and then they have second place in Rookie of the Year voting ready to move. So, their asset tank, and by the way, if they really want to get in the game for an All-NBA guy, they have a player like Tyler Hero that they can throw in trade talks, and that's going to trump a lot of offers. You know what I mean? Even if they don't have the best draft equity, they have guys on the roster that, are young and good, right? And at the end of the day, you have 2 players on this team who are under 23 years old or 23 and under that are legit All-NBA contenders. One of them is almost already there, and the other one, you kind of hope that that's what he becomes. So Heat fans, they gotta chill out. Yesterday was a lot. Last night at like 1 a.m., Brass, these people were going off the deep end. I saw Leif calming them down on the timeline.
Yeah,
come on.
So Leif tweeted out something I told him in the chat. I told him that Heat fans have a real knack of setting themselves up for disappointment while not appreciating what they have. Big 3 poison them mentally, and I stand by that. And I don't mean that as like an insult. It's just that's where our default is now. Like that big 3 was there hasn't nor will there be that kind of earth-shattering thing. I mean, that changed the league. When you talk about stuff that just totally, sent ripples through the NBA, and we're still feeling those ripples from that big 3 Heat team. And as Heat fans, I mean, holy shit. As a Heat fan, I didn't see that. I didn't expect that trade to happen. So it was incredible. But ever since, we always expect the big trades to happen and the big moves and everyone's going to want to come to us. Everyone's going to want to come to us. And for a while during that era was absolutely the case. Absolutely the case. And it continued for a while. And then we sort of fell back to earth. But it never left us. It still lingers. And I just think that people need to chill because everyone is thinking everyone is trading photoshops of people in jerseys. Listen, we make fun of Lakers fans for this.
Get a grip.
Well, have a little self-reflection and look at yourselves and go, oh, well, we make fun of other people for this. Why are we doing this? I mean, Giannis, as we said to start this off, he's the biggest whale out there right now. But if we don't get him, don't freak out. Don't set yourself up. That was the longest shot. It's still in play. It still could happen. But if it doesn't happen, don't fucking run for the exits. Don't calm down. We just made the finals. And
I think people were really excited because I think that, for as much shit as Heat fans talk, I think that they felt that going back to the finals is going to be really hard to replicate. And I think that they looked at Giannis as the way, as really the formula breaker.
Yeah, but I'm not looking to ruin everyone's high and stuff like that. I'm not shitting on everyone.
Sounds like you are.
No, but I'm saying, but no, they're real talk. This is what eye emojis and fucking talk of whale hunting will do. I
love eye emoji season. How dare you? How dare you? Eye emoji season is the best time of year.
This is what you get. This is the
Don't
fallout.
you dare. Don't you dare.
Fun, sure, you get your followers.
Christian's smuckering like he knows he's done some stuff on the timeline.
He's
not very proud of.
I just tweeted, I love eye emoji season. It's the best time of year.
Listen, it's fun. It's great.
It is. It really is. I mean, and obviously it's not usually right before Thanksgiving, but I am thankful for that.
It's very festive. Like some people are putting up Christmas ornaments already. It just feels festive. It feels festive. Eye emoji season. I'm going to get an eye emoji ornament for my tree. It's very nice. It reminds me of happy times.
But a couple years ago, if we weren't making moves a couple years ago, it's like, oh, you start looking at the team and you're like, oh, fuck.
I think fans are pissed because the Heat aren't making moves, but in reality, I don't think trading is going to happen yet for them.
Right. It might not happen right when you want it to happen, but these things happen, or things will happen organically. And as I'm saying this, they could trade for Beal tonight for all I know. I mean, if they're getting rid of
still
Wall,
hasn't opted in yet, right? So there's still a lot of uncertainty. It's hard to trade when one of the major pieces that you have has not opted in yet, right? So that Olynyk $12.5 million is a big key to any trade that they'd make.
I think we need to somehow get Dr. Fauci to convince Kelly to move back to Canada because he's like.
Oh, can we have Dr. Fauci on the pod?
Yeah, can we get
Brian,
him?
Can you get Dr. Fauci?
Yeah, get him on the phone.
Brian, get Fauci on.
It's a much safer place to be than the U.S. right now. So I think if we tell Kelly that for his health, I think.
I don't know, man. Ontario's getting bad. It's getting rough in Canada lately. Send her to New Zealand or something.
Isn't he from Australia?
KO is from Canada, Brian.
Maple.
Kyrie's from Australia, apparently.
What do you mean, apparently? Allegedly.
I was just on his Wikipedia page.
This Kyrie alleges he's from Australia. He plays USA basketball, though.
It says he was born in Melbourne. I didn't know that.
And he reps USA basketball. Australia needs a point guard.
They need a lot of things, probably.
What are you doing, Kyrie? I'm not too worried about stuff in the East. I mean, obviously you are, but you gotta wait to see what the Heat does. If the Heat got Gallinari and or Paul Millsap, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling like a top 3 team in the East. I'm not scared of the Celtics. You just kick their ass, and I think the Nets and the Bucks. You know what I mean? Let's see how this goes. Let's see how seeding goes, and let's play this out. I think the plan's still 2021. I think there's a lot of good free agents in 2021. The Clippers strike out again. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are free agents. Who knows?
I mean, that's what I was going to say. If the Clippers at any point are seriously entertaining trading Paul George, you got to consider that because he fits a lot of what the Heat are missing.
We made fun of Paul George too, but it's tough. If a guy if the Blazers miss the playoffs this season and Dame Lillard's upset, what's to say that you can't get in the door with some picks and Tyler Hero if he takes another leap, a capital L leap. You know what I mean? There's ways to get in the door with stars. You know what I mean? And Harden might not even get moved. I mean, I got to be honest with you, judging from everything I've seen and what league people are saying, it seems like it's done or close to done. And sometimes things don't get done a certain way because you need the salary cap to work. Sometimes a trade has to come after a signing or whatever, right? So, we that was one of the big things with the Chris Paul trade, that the Phoenix didn't wait to do the trade because now their salary cap is kind of tied up. kind of the last thing, because we just wanted this to be like a quick hit to kind of fill you in on all the news and how it's affecting the Heat. Christian, you had a report today that for Miami Heat beat that the Heat are looking maybe entertaining trading back in the draft.
Yeah, no, I actually heard this earlier today, though. I know that Leif, Greg Sylvander, and Clutch NBA over at 5 Reasons Sports had also been hearing this, but it looks like the Heat are trying to trade back with the hopes of, I think, acquiring a late first-round pick and a second-round pick so that essentially they can, grab a couple players, which it looks like they're going to need, especially in this upcoming season that we still have no real idea like how they're going to manage the season. Obviously, as we're seeing in other sports leagues right now, COVID is going to continue to be an issue, at least until there's the actual release of some of these vaccines. Maybe they incorporate that into the leagues. It's really hard to predict what's going to happen when it comes to that, but we know it's still going to be existent. So having a deep roster is going to be something that teams need this upcoming season. So I think that makes a lot of sense. And also it would minimize the amount of like guaranteed cap money that the Heat would have in this draft, which I think is also important for their plans going into next offseason.
So Brian, I think that the guy, so if somebody tells me, Heat are trying to move back in the draft, I think the big name that sticks out is Vernon Carey, right?
It's looking like that's who the Heat are really targeting. We've heard from Leif. We've heard from, I think even Ethan reported it recently that, that's the guy that apparently they gave a promise to. Whether or not, I don't think they're going to take him at 20, but I think if they drop down to like the end of the first round, they could take him there. I thought maybe what they could do is they could drop down in the first round, try to maybe pick up, because they could probably still get Desmond Bane in like the 25-26 range if they drop down just a few spots. If they pick up sort of like what they did for KZ Okpala, where they get like a pick kind of at the top of the second round, then maybe they could somehow get Vernon Carey at the second round instead. But obviously, I really don't know. Well, here's the thing: none of us know what the actual I've seen a lot of mock drafts, and none of them are like. There's no consensus with any of these players. So who's this? Because obviously Miami had KZ Okpala ranked as like their like 10th or 11th best player on their board, I think, or something crazy like that. It was basically him or Hero if Hero wasn't on the board.
Hashtag free KZ.
Who's to say that they wouldn't take Vernon Carey at 20 even if everybody else thinks he's a second round pick?
It wouldn't be the first time. It would not be the first time with the front office, and they're and they've been right. So something I kind of also thought about, Christian, like not only the cap hit, but like, if they're really confident in a guy, right? Like if they're really confident in Vernon Carey, and they can turn their pick into Vernon Carey plus a second rounder, that they're like Josh, like how the Heat were we know how confident the Heat were in Josh. I mean, the second they took him, and we knew some of the stuff we didn't even report how high they were on Richardson, kind of in the middle of that draft, and how excited they were to take him. So like if the Heat are able to kind of get a guy like Vernon Carey and then a second round pick that they can also turn into an asset, all of a sudden, instead of trading draft picks, now you have a bunch of young players that that you think are good, and if you can develop them, those are other traits. So all of a sudden you have Nunn, Hero, whoever they pick with their first round pick plus second round pick, and however KZ Okpala develops, all of a sudden they've created quite the farm system of assets without real draft picks.
No, yeah, and I also want to point out that this would be the second season in a row because the Heat also traded back in last year's draft, which is how they ended up taking KZ and Bowl, correct? Even though they did end up trading Bowl later, it was a way for them to manufacture more picks, which had gone completely against their nature for almost the entire decade, where they treated second round picks like goodie bags to seal a goddamn trade with any team. Like they were throwing those things around like they didn't care about them. And that doesn't make any sense, because I think they finally realized that they have some of the best scouting in the NBA, and that the more picks they have, the better chance that they're going to improve their team in not only a quick way, but a cheap way. And so it makes a lot of sense for them to invest in, especially going after a lot of second round picks, because it kind of fits what they're already doing.
To Christian's
So the other
point,
thing-
to Christian's point, I want to add on to what he's saying. I mean, if you think about the Heat's way of making a move for a superstar player, say like Lillard maybe next year if he opts out, the best thing that Miami could do is continue to develop some more young players on that team. Because
Does Lillard have an opt-out?
Who?
Does Lillard have an opt-out?
I don't know. I think he signed till like.
Yeah, I was
3
gonna say.
more
Okay,
years.
continue. I'm sorry. I don't want to.
But I'm
stop
saying
you in
is
your
like I
tracks.
think it would be really smart if Miami can identify some more young talent. He's next. I mean, they have a pick in this draft, which they're not gonna have a pick next year, at the moment.
No,
At
they
least
don't.
it's not
Which,
first rounder. But it'd be good if they could somehow find another guy like they did with Josh Richardson. If they could find another guy in this round, if they needed to trade a guy to get someone like Jimmy Butler, to get somebody who they would value, that they could, put together a package that has assets. And I think they have quite a few right now. But also in a sense, you want to keep some of these guys. Like personally, I think very long and hard about trading Duncan Robinson of anybody on his team.
I mean, it depends what you get. I mean, I think you trade Duncan if he's a piece in like, a blue chip all NBA guy. I don't think you trade him for less. I don't think you include him in a.
It would have to be for the Ratchets because I really think that spacing is not spacing, like his specific skill set is hard to find anywhere around the league. And I know a lot of people say, "Oh, you can find another Duncan Robinson out in the league." I don't think it's as true as people think. Like he's that good of a player, and I only think he's gonna get better.
So you're saying to trade him or not to trade him?
I would think very long and hard before you make.
Oh, I thought you meant the opposite. I thought you were saying that they should probably trade him.
I mean, especially if it's true that they're not really offering Tyler Hero right now. He would basically have to be offered to get anything of real value. So
I don't believe that for a second, by the way. I think that if Washington calls, if Houston calls, all of a sudden.
Okay, I think if Washington, I think they've written off Washington for this offseason because Washington, from every report that's come out, has made it clear that they are not trading Bradley Beal
The
this
GM went on the low post and he was just saying that they're not going to. He basically went on a propaganda spree about Bradley Beal and how he wasn't trading him.
Which could just be a way to up his, trade price, but
Bradley Beal's brother went on the timeline yesterday saying that's not happening.
I mean, exactly, and that's why
I don't think he's getting moved. I
don't think Bradley Beal would have come out. What was it? It was like less than 6 months ago, and like said publicly that he's, he wants to continue playing in Washington, and he did sign that extension. So I guess we'll see what happens. We'll see how he feels if this season goes as bad as I think it's probably going to go. But especially if they go after Russell Westbrook, which is just never learn your lesson.
I think that'll be good, though. I actually think that'll be a good pairing.
Okay.
I think that'll work. That might get him to the 8th seed.
Yeah, and then get wiped in the first? Like
hard fought 5-game series. Hard fought 5-game series for Washington. Oh my god. Well, everybody, remember tomorrow, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. Draft Miami Heat Beat live show, twitch.tv/MiamiHeatBeat. Make sure to be there. We are going to have fun. We're going to have lots of voices on, some that you know, some that you don't know. We're planning a lot of cool stuff for that draft show. We're going to take you live all the way up to the Heat pick. And if they trade back, pray for us because we will go live up until they pick. Okay, then we are here. I'm committed to the long haul. We are here. Brian's like, oh, God, no. I'm here. Kristen and I are going to be here to take you all the way. And everybody else who's going to join us tomorrow on the draft show. Make sure you check that out. Also, follow our Instagram page at MIAHeatBeat. We're doing lots of cool stuff over there. Jake Pablo is now working with us. He's a great NBA designer. We are very, very excited to have him on board working with us. He's one of my favorites. So check out his. We'll put that in the description of this podcast. Or on YouTube or wherever you're listening. So make sure to check out his work. Check out our Instagram page where he's going to start posting some graphics. He already made one for our draft coverage and all that good stuff. So subscribe to the YouTube page, all that stuff. We're excited. We're ready to go.